Okay, I'm live. Let's see how this works. Okay, I have been trying to think in terms that I'm not used to, which are the very metaphorical and very technical, the very technical style of a thinker like Deleuze. I don't know enough about Deleuze to speak about his philosophy. But I want to try and understand the coronavirus with some Deleuzean language I learned when I taught Deleuze versus Heidegger on technology together with Justin Murphy. And we'll teach that course again over the summer sometime with a new cohort of students. We just finished our seminars, and I'm going to be teaching the Idleness with Dignity course, the first seminar actually about an hour from now. And what I'm understanding about the virus, if you think of a virus, what's a virus? A virus is non-intelligent machinery that breaks into cells. It's RNA. So this morning I spoke with one of my private students who's a doctor of 40 years, and he explained viruses to me. So I can try and make sense of it. Viruses attack cells and make those cells work in favor of the virus. That's what a virus does. And that's exactly what corona is doing to us. It's in Deleuzean terms, it's or in this language of software and hardware programming, the virus is decoding our ways of making sense of the world, and at the same time recoding us. So the virus is really just boosting us or booting us into the 21st century in a most radical way. The 20th century was the century of the corporation, more than the 19th century. The 20th century is the century of bigger is better. We need the bigger an organization, the better it will fare. That's the 20th century in a nutshell. And that's true for corporations, especially for the second half the of the 20th century. It's true for the corporation as much as it's true for the university. And what we're seeing now is that all of these extremely bloated organizations that also rely on a huge apparatus of bureaucrats and administrators, they're failing. They are failing. So universities, for example, are failing their people. They're failing their students. Instead of firing administrators, they've actually hired more administrators in this time, charging their students just in the US and in the UK, charging the students more. And who they've fired is either is teaching staff, people who are on fixed contracts. They've been fired, and they fired people who work in cafeterias, etc., because they don't need them anymore. And some of these institutions have billions in endowments. So, but they're incapable, totally incapable of adapting to this new world that's being born very brutally right now and very, very, very quickly. Of course, Amazon, for example, is capable of adapting to this very quickly because Amazon is already just an algorithm. Amazon isn't something of the 20th century or century before. It is an algorithm. That's what Amazon is. So, and as I said in the beginning, this kind of language is very foreign to me to speak in terms of reterritorialization and deterritorialization. And all I know about Deleuze, I know from the course with Justin. But I think what Justin pointed out is that while deterritorialization takes place, and this is what the virus is doing, right? It's just public life has basically collapsed. It's reterritorializing at the same time, all at once, and it's like being in a battlefield. And that's exactly what we're living through right now. We're in this battlefield of deterritorialization, reterritorialization, and we're being decoded and recoded all at once. To some degree, the panic that we're living through is, of course, owed to our incapacity to be mortal, right? It's to see that we're mortal, we're finite beings. With the virus reminded us of this, and we react like the last man would react. We 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 leap, we jump into the pot and lock ourselves in because, oh, we could die. So the panic has much to do with this, and that's kind of what the virus is revealing too. But it's at the same time, it's ending the 20th century all at once and bringing back to really, really violently bringing back the truth of history. And some would say that at the core of it all is death. This is why Heidegger calls death the mountain range of being through which we stride. So this is perhaps what's violently pushing back, and now to come back to this Deleuzean way of speaking, we are being decoded by this virus in all our ways. All our ways, what we took for granted, has been decoded and totally brought to a halt within less than 8 weeks for us in the West, right? For us in Europe and the US. Less than 8 weeks it took the virus to decode us and recode us as well. We're being recoded at the moment, and probably most don't even realize, right? There's a great normalization already happening, like how to dress well at home, how to keep healthy at home, how to maintain good mental health at home. Take this happy pill and you will be forever happy at home. So lock yourself in the pod and you will be happy at home. So the great normalization already set in. One of my friends, Leszek Stalewski, a writer and author from Berlin, just finished his first novel, which is an incredible piece of literature, by the way, written in a completely non-linear fashion. But he said what he fears is that the beast, the behemoth of normalcy, will come back after this. And of course, the behemoth of normalcy to come back doesn't mean that we go back to what everything was like in January of 2020. No, it would mean that a radically different behemoth of normalcy, of the they self, returns or makes an appearance and then controls us, where we think, oh, where life is then life in the pot, where Gestell wants us really, and has decoded and recoded us in such a way that we're now territorialized, as confined to our homes that aren't really homes. So we're being living, getting deliveries, and that's it. That's life. It's there for consumption. I'm not saying that this is what will happen, but this is certainly one of the ways in which the brutality of normalcy could come about. Not sure if such an economy is sustainable for a long time. Probably not. But still, there is this. On the other hand, what you can see is, and I said this before somewhere else, what's coming also, I think, is a time for eccentrics. Anyone who is truly eccentric and genuinely can lean into his eccentricity will fare really well in what is to come. The well-adapted cogs who are still operating on the software of the 20th century, the corporate man, that's over. That's done very quickly. And that corporation also applies very much to the university. And I'm going to teach in an hour from now. The leitmotif of my academy, of the Halcyon Academy, is otium cum dignitate, leisure with dignity. And we care absolutely not about worthless pieces of paper and certificates. What we care for in this school is the proper education and formation of the human being so that we may flourish to our fullest potential. It's a time for eccentricity too. This is what this virus is also a catalyst for. And it's a time for honesty as well. So we're being decoded, recoded, and recorded, of course, as well. And we're being deterritorialized, reterritorialized in ways that we can't even begin to make sense of, I think. And everyone who's still operating within a structure, and I learned a lot from Justin Murphy in this regard. Anyone who still thinks, also people who want to be creative online, who want to be creative intellectually, etc., independently, who still operate within the framework of the 20th century or centuries before, will not fare well. They will not, because they rely on, they think, because that would mean to play the status game, right? So to get a piece of paper, to get a certificate, to get some kind of credential for the job market. I mean, at 30% unemployment, there's no job market basically, and if that's coming, and so anyone who's still kind of doing in this intellectual sphere what's happening, what would have been a model or a way of going about things in the 20th century, will not fare well. Won't even fare well right now, and so it's really time to get rid of all of these certainties that we had and fully lean into our creative eccentricities, because that's what this is a liberating force for as well, this viral situation. So I'm going to read a bit more now because I have to teach in an hour. And thanks very much for those who listened. And yeah, hope you keep well. All the best and see you very soon. Now, how do I turn you on?